By the way, Kat was the first person to test this equipment. Did I ever tell you that story?
No, but or maybe
it's not that interesting, but it'll fill the air for a minute. She had to make a recording. She was doing a little bit of schooling, and she had to make a recording. And rather than do it over the phone, I'm like, why don't we test the equipment? Because the equipment had been sitting there in a corner for 2 months doing nothing at the apartment because you bought it, and we never got around to setting it up.
I gave it to you so you could figure it out.
And it took me a while to, never mind, figure. I knew the whole thing about hooking everything up and how it would sound and look is nothing. I knew it's the second that they said this is what you need, how it was going to hook up, and no problem. I get that. I just took me forever to figure out what he wanted to do as far as the podcast. I didn't know what the fuck he wanted to do. Now I'm glad that I figured it out because it's fun.
Did you? I don't understand that though.
I didn't know if
I said we're gonna have a podcast and we're gonna just talk about shit.
Yeah, I didn't know.
And you kind of had more of an idea than I did.
I wanted.
We're just gonna do
right.
We're gonna talk about shit.
Right. I wanted to. How I always said it was I was hoping that it would work out that we would just capture the nature of our talks over in the cabana, which we kind of have, except the talks in the cabana were, listen, you're not trying to fucking fill air over at the cabana. If we sit there and talk for 20 minutes nonstop, and then for 5 minutes we don't even look at each other, we're both looking at the TV. You know what I mean? We can't do that here. So it took me a while to figure out how the fuck are we just going to continue? You know what I mean? You got to have diarrhea of the mouth, and I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to pull it off. The first.
Oh yeah, big question there.
Why
you never shut your mouth?
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Even in real life,
he thinks he's really quiet. You know, Kat. He says, "Oh, I don't know. I thought I was going to be really quiet." And I'm like, "Why would? Do you think he's quiet?"
No, he's not quiet ever.
So, why did you think that you'd be quiet?
Because I go out of my way not to talk a lot. Maybe it is because I'm extra chatty. I do go out. I find that there's a lot of situations where I go, all right, you have to not say anything to anybody right now.
Well, I mean, you can be very private.
Yeah. No,
and that could be. But I mean, he's not. I've never seen him afraid to say something.
No.
Well, if I'm talking,
the only thing is, the first couple of shows that were recorded because you fucked up the thing, I remember doing a lot of talking because I was literally tired.
Why are you putting this so close to me?
And I finally
have to talk into the fucking thing.
When I finally said, "Hey, don't swear at your wife on the air," I finally said, "You got to start talking because my throat's killing me here." And then you've been wonderful ever since.
Yeah, no, because I think I had an epiphany. I had an epiphany here, like the epiphany I had at work about what they needed there, and now I figured out what we need here. And that is fucking constant chatter, which actually suits me. Here's the thing. When I say I was trying to figure out what you needed for the podcast, it was, as you know, I'm filled with self-loathing and hate and self-doubt. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it took me a while
I have that as well.
It took me a while to have the confidence to do what we're doing. And I do have a little bit of that.
Talk to 3 people on a podcast?
Yeah, and I do have a little bit of that performer in me, as I must, because I still play music in bands, and it's still kind of like, look at me, look
you're
at
the
me.
guy that can get up on stage and sing and play.
But I will say I'm way more comfortable in front of an audience of like 300 people than I am of 30, which is all I really play in front of. If I play out now, it's like 30 people. For some reason, that is way more disconcerting than if you have a room full or a fucking
you can
park
see their
full of
eyeballs.
People. Yeah, it's weird. Because I've played some big shows.
It's probably easier to look out at a crowd of 50,000 because you're not making any eye contact with anybody.
Well,
than it is to look at 30.
You know what's interesting? If you play a show, and I haven't played many of these, probably a dozen or so. If you play a show where you can't see the audience because it's dark out there and everything on stage is lit up, follow what I'm saying? Like you can see lighters or phones, but you can't see anybody's eyes or faces.
Right.
And you can hear them, especially when they respond at the end of a song, but you can hear them. But when you can't see them, it's nothing. It's like you're sitting there playing at practice in front of nobody. But these fucking small gigs where you can see people and hear them and you interact with them between it. Hopefully none of them tell you that song sucked and you take offense and end up chopping their ear off with a cymbal.
Right.
Right.
So anyway, I had a little performance anxiety as far as this went. We'll put it that way. But I'm over it. So